I'll reintroduce myself. My name, again, is Craig Harmlin. I work in the Office of International Affairs in the Study Abroad area, and I will pass it to my colleagues to introduce themselves, and I will mute myself.
Hi, folks. Good morning or afternoon or wherever you're joining us from. We appreciate you being here with us. My name is Cece Nunez, and I'm also one of the Study Abroad advisors at UC Merced. I'm going to go ahead and give it over to our guest, Hani.
Hi, good morning, or if you are in the different time zone at this point, good afternoon. My name is Hani Geist. I represent the German Academic Exchange Service, DAAD, here in the Western region of the United States. And I will talk to you today a little bit about DAAD, what DAAD is and what we do and what we can offer. And then more specifically, and that's probably the most important information for you today, is the funding opportunities that are available to undergraduates here in the United States. Maybe just a little bit of information so you know who's talking to you. I'm from Germany, originally from Berlin, and I studied in Berlin. I was an exchange student in the US, and then after graduating from the university in Berlin, I pursued another graduate degree here in the United States. So I can give you a lot of formal information about studying in Germany and the funding opportunities, but I'm also happy to chat with you just about personal kind of experience and being a student in the United States and in Germany. Now, I will share this information, the slides, with Craig and Cece. So if you are interested in those in this PowerPoint presentation, you will receive that at a later point. So there are also a few links included, so you don't necessarily need to write them down, and you don't have to worry that you miss anything. So DAAD, simply put, is the higher education arm of the German government. We're funded by the Foreign Ministry and the Ministry of Education, and really our mandate is to represent German higher education abroad, talk about the opportunities that are available, so the requirements, kind of what it means to be a student and a researcher in Germany, and then more importantly for you, we also offer scholarships and grants that are available in all disciplines at all academic stages, starting on the undergraduate level. And we also, and that's maybe relevant to you or maybe your friends, is that DAAD offers opportunities for anyone enrolled full-time at a university here in the United States, which means that citizenship does not play a role. So even though you may not be a US citizen, you are eligible to apply for these grants if you fulfill the other requirements. So feel free to share that information should you have any friends that are non-US citizen and are interested in looking for opportunities abroad. We do have 2 offices in the United States. Our main office is in New York. This is also where the programs are administered. So if you apply to any of the programs, the application is online at this point, but the program officers that administer the grants and coordinate the committee meetings, those all sit in New York. I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I am basically your first point of contact. However, if you have any questions at any point and I'm not available, you can always reach out to my colleagues in New York. And you see a few other dots here on this map, and those are represent our research ambassadors and young ambassadors. And this is when I talked earlier about personal experience. Those are really great resources for you to ask your peers about opportunities in Germany. Those are all students who either studied in Germany or did an internship in Germany. And those have profiles on our website, a little blurb, information on where they study in the US, where they studied or interned in Germany, and their field of studies. And more importantly for you, they also have contact information. So even though they may not be on campus, the closest one for you right now is at UC Berkeley. Feel free to reach out to them and ask them any questions about studying in Germany, interning in Germany, what it's like, and maybe even the application process for one of our grants. So just briefly for you, why Germany is a great destination for you to study internal research. Germany has about 400 universities, high academic standards, and low tuition fees. And what's also important, and I will go over that here in the next slide, is that the living standards are high and they're comparably at a reasonable cost. If you are a student in Germany, you're not alone. About 10 to 12% are international students. A lot of them come from Europe, but also from all over the world. And that means that you're not only alone at the university or if you intern, but it also means that the international offices are there to support you with information. And should you be interested maybe in a master's or PhD degree at a later point, there are also many international degree programs that are offered entirely in English. So another reason, and currently, sadly, that's a little bit restricted. However, the Schengen area is still open within the European Schengen area. You're able to travel, but Germany really is a great place for you to explore. Also fairly cheaply by train or by bus or by plane. Again, unfortunately, right now, this is a little bit restricted, but generally speaking, this is really a fantastic opportunity to also experience other cultures. And that could be from Germany, just a weekend trip, for example. So I talked about the cost, and here's a little bit of a breakdown. So the first one here that you see is rent. About 350 euros you will need for rent per month. So when you compare that to the Bay Area, an extended Bay Area, Merced is probably not any different, is a lot more expensive for either a room or for your own apartment. So really in Germany, it's very affordable, even in the bigger cities. The costs for food and also produce for good quality food is a lot lower too. For a month, you may have to budget 150 euros, for example. And then importantly for you, if you're a student, you receive a student ID. And with that, you're able to travel within the area of your town, the university. For example, coming from Berlin, you would even be able to travel to Potsdam. That's the closest city, biggest city nearby. So really, it has a lot of advantages. And also one of the things that I notice as a German citizen coming from Germany, healthcare is not only very affordable, but it's also very accessible. So this is also something for you as an international student that you wouldn't have to worry about if you live in Germany for short-term or long-term. So what does DAAD fund? First of all, DAAD has a lot of funding opportunities, and I'm just I'm going to talk in detail about 3 of them. All of the funding opportunities for undergraduate, graduate, and then also later faculty, if you maybe already think about your future and your academic career, those funding opportunities are available on our website in all detail. Generally speaking, we fund study abroad, we fund internships and research abroad. You will receive either a lump sum or a monthly stipend that will cover the living expenses that you may face that I listed earlier. You'll also get travel reimbursement, which I know here for the Western region, sometimes the international travel costs can be really expensive. And so all of our grants that I'm going to talk to you about also include a subsidy for the international travel. It is open to all fields except for some very specific ones that I'm going to talk about. And if it's not specifically mentioned, then German knowledge is also not necessarily a requirement. It is, of course, an advantage. And for me, for example, my husband is American, I'm German, and I do speak English. We speak English at home, but just if you know a little bit of German, a little bit about the German culture, it's also a little bit easier maybe to integrate into the culture just because you understand a little bit better once you start learning German. Um, and again, I'd like to stress that because a lot of the opportunities that are available that you may see on campus where US citizenship is required, DAAD funding opportunities do not require citizenship. What we do require is you have to be a full-time student or recent graduate, depending on the program. And but otherwise, you don't have to have the official citizenship status. All right. So the first opportunity I'd like to talk to you about is our research internships in science and engineering. So this is for anyone who's a STEM student. It's for the fields of biology, chemistry, computer science, earth sciences, engineering, and related fields. This is a summer internship opportunity, 10 to 12 weeks with flexible dates. Mid-May is the earliest you will be able to start. Late June is the latest, because early in July, there will be an all grantees meeting that's organized by DAAD and paid for by DAAD. And that will allow you to meet other interns. And that is always a really great opportunity for interns also to just form connections, to travel within Europe, or even just visit one another in the respective cities. You see here, you receive monthly 861 euros, and that seems really weird as a number, but this is basically what the foreign ministry says is the minimum that a student will need to cover all the expenses. And so that's why our funding for the month also has that odd number. In addition, you get health and liability insurance and the travel subsidy. The program itself is research opportunity for you, either the lab or you do field work, really depending on the kind of field you're looking at. And we have a database that actually opens here within the next few days, and where you can see all available internships for the next summer. And of course, we're currently in a pandemic, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. However, we are operating under the assumption and the hope that next year everyone will be able to travel again. So all of the opportunities that I'm talking to you today about are open with open deadlines and with the assumptions that we will be able to, everyone will be able to travel again. So for this internship, no German is required. You can go on the website, on the database, and look at all the internships that are offered. You would apply to a specific internship, and within the application, you are able to apply to up to 3 internships at a time. And so I really invite you to go to the database, look at all the opportunities, and then choose the 3 internships that align with your interests the most. So this was an internship opportunity. Now we're talking a little bit more about the study opportunities. And the first one is the University Summer Course Grant. So this is really for anyone who's interested in really the classroom experience and studying over the summer. We offer 3 to 4 week summer courses. And for that, you do have to know some German, but the minimum level is A1, which is really the most basic level of German. It's usually about a year of German, and either you've acquired that through an official course. I know UC Merced doesn't have like a German class or German department per se, but if you've acquired some German skills outside of the university in any shape or form, if you're at that level, then I encourage you to apply. And this may be a great opportunity for you to maybe cover your electives, or just really get the international experience, improve your German skills, and also be able to travel within Europe. You will get a scholarship, also health insurance, and also a travel allowance. So even though this may not be specifically for your academic, for your major or minor, I would still encourage you to apply for this if you do know a little bit of German. And you can choose from about 100 courses that are anywhere of like literature, culture, and politics or economic aspects of Germany. The deadline, so this is great that we have this virtual info session now. The deadline is December 1st. So if you're interested, you do have enough time to have a look at the courses and then really prepare your application before the deadline. And so while we do talk about undergraduate opportunities at the moment, I would like to talk to you about the study scholarship available for graduate students, because this is an opportunity for you to either pursue a full master's in Germany, or while you are enrolled as a master's student here in the United States, to study 1 year at a German university. This is available for all academic fields, so you can be an engineering student, a physics student, in the humanities, really any kind of field, and you can choose the university that you think will fit best to your academic goals, and maybe there is a professor you would like to work with. So Germany has about 400 universities, and we don't prefer one university over the other. So really for the study scholarship, it is the most important that you find a university and a program that fits your academic needs. And you can apply, and actually you should apply to this grant a year ahead before you start the full master's program if you would like the funding for the full 2 years. The deadline is coming up very soon, November 4th, for the 21-22 academic year. But if you're not a senior this year, maybe next year, already start thinking about that, because that would really fund your master's programs in Germany. So you would get a monthly stipend, also the health insurance, a travel stipend. And if you go to a public university, you wouldn't have to pay any tuition fees. So this will be really an affordable and quality way to get an education on the graduate level. So you can apply as a senior, but if you miss the deadline, you still want to start, you are able to also apply for only your second year of studies. And maybe it's important to mention here too, as an international student, you are eligible to work not only on campus in Germany, but anywhere. And that's for either 120 full days or 240 half days. So even though you may not have a scholarship, I would still encourage you to look into opportunities that are available to you, because through other means, you'd still be able to get a quality education and sustain yourself by either working or maybe other funding opportunities that are available. I talked about the different programs and that there are about 400 universities. So if you are interested in maybe looking into university, maybe programs at a later point, these are the websites, the first two ones where you can identify universities and also degree programs that fit your academic interests and your goals. So these are really great databases for you to just plug in your field of interest, and then you get the results for all the universities that have those courses, and you can narrow it down to international degree programs, and there are about 2,000 at this point, and the number is rising every year. Tips for success, of course, that's always the big question. How can you set yourself up for a successful application? And sure, good academic background is important. So a good or decent GPA is certainly one of the factors. However, there are so many other things that you can do to improve your application, to make sure you have a really good quality application. The first step you've already taken by joining this webinar and really hearing more about the opportunities that are available. The next step would be to identify the funding that you're interested in. All of our funding opportunities have an individual page on our DAAD.org page, and we have all the information starting with the terms of awards and also eligibility, and then specifically what the application process looks like. We have an FAQ page where we really answer the frequent questions that we get. And then two things that we always ask for is either a study proposal or a research proposal or a letter of intent. And when you look at our name, German Academic Exchange Service, really the focus is on academia. So you want to express why you're interested in a certain program, and that, again, since we're not focused on supporting anyone with the interest of German studies, for example, even if it's engineering or physics or chemistry, neuroscience, identify the universities that focus on that, maybe identify a professor who specializes in something that you're really interested in, and then lay that out in the study proposal and the research proposal. And be as specific as possible. You can also look at maybe research institutions that are close by, or if you're, for example, a politics major, then of course being in the Berlin area where politics is happening, that is a great reason why to be close to Berlin. If you're a finance major, Frankfurt is a great place to be, because that's the finance hub of Germany and also Europe in general. So really look at all the kind of reasons why this makes sense for your academic career, and why specifically you want to go to a certain location. And then here it says submit quality letter of recommendation. I always, when I started applying, I always thought, oh, I just need to ask the professor and then it's out of my hands. It's not quite like that. Actually, you can do quite a bit to make sure you have a quality letter of recommendation. That means ask a professor as early as possible, ask for their timeline, ask for office hours to speak with that person. Now, of course, it's virtual, but make sure you share your study proposal, even if it's just a draft, so that really your professor gets a good idea of what you're trying to accomplish, so that he or she or them will be able to then include that in the letter of recommendation. And really, the more you also provide on your side, the more the professor will be able to include in that recommendation letter. Then the final point, make sure your application is on time and complete. It seems kind of simple, but a lot of the applications that we receive that are not eligible, they turn out to be not complete. Sometimes students don't pay attention to the time zones. So all of our application deadlines are the German time, which unfortunately means for us here on the West Coast, 9 hours. So if the deadline is November 4th, for example, that will be at 2:59 p.m. our time. So just pay attention to that. Look at all the resources that are available. And then, of course, you can always get in touch with either me here in San Francisco or with my colleagues in New York if I'm not available. But this is all the information that I have for you right now. I'm happy to answer your questions. Again, you will receive those slides later on, and yeah, I'll be happy to answer your questions now, or even at a later point if you can't think of any right now, but come up with them at a later point. Cici, are there any questions?
I don't see any questions in the chat, but if you do have additional questions, feel free to drop them in the chat now, or like Hani mentioned before, if you have, oh, we do have actually one question, Hani, that just came through. And that is there only one field of study for internships, or is it various ones?
So it's STEM. And so it's engineering, biology, chemistry, physics, earth sciences, computer sciences. So at the moment, we don't offer internships outside of those STEM fields. But if you are interested in internships, for example, Culture Vistas, for example, offers internship opportunities. The CBYX program for students is an opportunity for you to get language experience and also study and do an internship in Germany. And that's open to all academic fields. That's also supported program, actually joint program by the German Bundestag and the American Congress. So if you are interested in opportunities that are outside of the STEM fields, while this is not offered through DAAD, you can also shoot me an email and I can kind of guide you in some of the directions. Of course, there are a lot of other paid opportunities, but there are a few programs that are offered where you don't have to pay, and there is a scholarship involved as well.
Good question. Are there any other questions for Hani?
Well, maybe that means I covered everything and included everything in the presentation.
I agree. All
So
right,
yeah,
so
I would say we share the recording, we share those slides, and then I suspect that a lot of the questions come up when you're actually in the application process and when you think about it more. So yeah, I just wanted to say go home and think about it and read up, but you're probably at home right now. So just take a look at the websites, have a look at the funding opportunities, and then if you do have questions, just get in touch with either of the offices and we'll be happy to answer any follow-up questions.
thank you, Hani. And our goal is to have this recording up and going, ready for y'all by November 4th. So just in case you wanted to review this information, you should have this recording available hopefully by November 4th. We appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us, and I'm going to go ahead and end the recording now.
Great, and we're right on time.
Yeah.